Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm John Gonder,
Hi, John.
and got a question to ask, just a general question. And it's not racist, please. But I noticed that y'all have taken a lot of energy to make sure that the Hispanics are well represented. And it seems like you kind of let the blacks and the Caucasians kind of by the wayside. Now, maybe they take up so many places around here that maybe that's why you did it. But I was just curious why you gave, why you wanted such a large section, if you will, of Hispanics.
Well, in terms of, if you don't mind, let's go back to the draft staff plan for a minute. We'll go back to the first one. Yeah, that's good. There we go. So, as I mentioned, we've got one majority-minority district today, and it is Hispanic. And so with regard to the Voting Rights Act, we need to make sure that we don't dilute the voting rights of that one majority-minority district. In addition, we've had requests from city council members and individuals and groups that they want to, that they would like to have the opportunity for residents to elect candidates of their choice such that those candidates might represent the population of Fort Worth. And so today we have one Hispanic council member, District 2, which is Councilmember Sal Espino. And so what I didn't include in the presentation that I've included in some earlier ones is that the Hispanic population has grown the fastest within Fort Worth, and it's now 34% of the population. So it's a third of our residents are Hispanic. We have 8 council districts plus the mayor. We only have one Hispanic council member, and so that's why you've had the United Hispanic Council, for example, submit 3 plans trying to figure out a way to have representation that represents the population of Fort Worth. Now, in terms of why I pointed it out in my plan is again because for the Voting Rights Act, we need to pay attention to that one majority-minority district, and it happens to be the only one we have is majority-minority of Hispanic residents. But otherwise, we did receive the comment that I showed you earlier from a neighborhood leader about wanting to try to maintain 2 African-American districts. And if you can go back, I've got that table that or that chart that shows the bar chart. I think it may be. Yeah, it's good. It's a little slow. Anyway, there's the bar chart that I showed you of the population that we have. We have, there it is.
There it was. Go back one.
Yeah, it's a little slow. There we go.
All
So
right,
you'll see District 5 is 45% African American. And so we need to pay attention, as I mentioned, to District 5 as well to make sure that we don't go backwards in terms of the voting rights in District 5. Interestingly, District 8, if you look at District 8, it's 35% African American, and 10 years ago it was closer to 45% African American. But there's been a shift in the demographics in District 8. And so there, we've heard from the current council member and some of the residents that they really like having a mix of races and ethnicities in District 8. And so maintaining that was important to them. And so that's the challenge is to create.
Well, I guess my next question would be then that I notice you got this thing here with, now am I taking that non-Hispanic black meaning black, not
Correct.
white?
Correct.
Okay, now from looking at these numbers and adding up to 100.
Right. These would not add up to 100 because this is
they
just
won't,
the.
But the thing is, though, when you got something like 45 and 31, that's almost
76.
That's over 70.
Yep, 76%.
70%.
So then 24%
that are minorities.
Correct.
So that would mean then that less than 30% are Caucasian.
Correct.
Now, do they ever in these things here factor in the Caucasians in an area?
Well, no, not with regard to the Voting Rights Act. That is for, again, for Fort Worth, it's African American and Hispanic residents that we have to pay attention to for the Voting Rights Act.
So I can take it then that Caucasians are just, we're just here. We don't really count in any of the redistricting or anything like that. Because if you go by that, number 6, a large percentage of our neighbors and stuff are black, very few Hispanic, and I live in the Summer Creek Ranch area. But these tables here, I've seen similar ones around. They seem to always deal with minorities, you know, and nobody ever thinks of us Caucasians as a minority, because they've even said now that by 2030 we'll be the minority.
Right, and we are, all of us, all races and ethnicities are minorities in terms of the math within Fort Worth today. So we are all minorities with regard to the math. So, but again, for the purpose of redistricting, we have to, by law, focus on the minorities that have historically had their voting rights
and I'm assuming
lessened,
that all
discriminated
these
against, yes, compromised, yes.
I'm assuming all these minorities are legal.
No, not necessarily, and it doesn't matter with regard to redistricting. It's one person, one vote, regardless of.
Okay, so you're saying that an illegal can vote?
No. It's not about voting. It's about having equal representation. So with regard to the Hispanic community.
Now you're just contradicting yourself, because if a person is illegal, then and he can't vote, and then it's here for the Voting Rights Act, and then you're counting in the illegals. That sounds crazy. I mean, that's like, let's factor in the people down in Huntsville when they go redistricting down there. You know, I mean, something's wrong here somewhere, and I mean, I'm not saying that whites should have control of everything or anything like that, but if you're going to count illegals as a voting rights people, then why call it the Voting Rights Act? Why not just call it the Minority Rights Act? The minority that lives in an area is allowed to have this representation.
Well, let me just jump in. In terms of the apportionment of the population, so separate from the Voting Rights Act, for the apportionment of the population, it's based on the census. So the census counts everybody who's residing in the city, whether you have a home, whether you don't have a home. So they count everybody. So the apportionment is based on the total number of residents. However they arrived here, everyone is counted. And so that's what we have to apportion, and it's based on residents. And it doesn't matter whether you're of age to vote, or whether you're registered to vote, or whether you're a citizen. So it's just based on the census.
Sounds wrong, but anyway, that's all right. That's the way they run it. All right.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Glenn Estes. I live right in the very middle of District 6, and that's my primary concern. But first, I'll comment. My impression is that overall your staff plan makes a great effort to try to consider all of the key factors that you have to consider and keep equality among the various districts. Regarding District 6, obviously the shift is slightly further to the west. And this makes District 6 probably by far the most compact district, and probably also the most homogeneous district, because all of the neighborhoods in District 6 are very similar. And from a standpoint of District 6, I think this is a very good plan, and I'm pleased with it.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. Who would like to go first? All right. Do you want to come up, or would you like to?
We don't want to lose Danny Scarth.
Come to the microphone, please. No.
We do not want to lose Danny Scarth in District 4.
And who's we, for the record? Is it
The residents of the John T. White Neighborhood Association.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the John T. White neighborhood. Good. Thank you. Other questions or comments from the audience? Come on up. Don't be shy.
My name is Pablo Calderon.
Please come into the microphone.
Okay.
Sorry.
My name is Pablo Calderon. I live at 4813 Kimball Street. Is that on or not? Doesn't sound like it's on. Excuse me? Get close to the mic. Oh, I don't know if this is on. Is it on?
Yeah, the speaker's not working well, but I am recording it for the
Oh, okay.
record, so if you could speak into the mic.
But for them to hear me, I think I'll be this way too. Yeah, okay. Pablo Calderon, I live like about a mile southwest of here. The concept, one person, one vote, is that which we have to abide by. It's my understanding that the Justice Department has a plus or minus 5% deviation rather than the 2.5 deviation that the City Council is looking for, so that in fact we can deviate a bit more, and apparently the only purpose for which that can be done is if representation of minorities can be increased. There are a couple of criteria that have been set locally that do not comply with the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act has as its goal diversity on the council, not diversity on each individual single-member district. So the idea of having districts that are on both sides of Loop A20 can run counter to what the Voting Rights Act calls for. And I think if you check with your attorney, they will confirm that. So for the Hispanics in District 2, as was evidenced this last 10 years, District 2 started off at about 60% Hispanic, but due to that large growth up towards Alliance and to what's the Keller area, the Hispanic population dropped down to about 44%. That's a huge drop. If the Hispanic population starts at 55%, as proposed in the current draft staff plan, there's a lot of empty buildable areas still north of 820 that give it about another 5 years, the same thing's going to happen. But since we're starting, at least by this proposed draft staff plan, we're starting at a lower percentage, it's going to be just a couple of years, and Hispanics are going to be below that 50% rather quickly. There's a couple of tweaks that could be done. There's a section of the draft staff plan that has in District 4, east of 820 and south of 30, that the black percentage could probably be increased in District 5 if that were switched from 4 to 5. That would then allow some shifts whereby some of the area near Alliance could be dropped out of District 2 in order to increase the Hispanic percentage in District 2. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. And just a quick correction, maybe double check my math or my recollection, but I believe the staff plan got District 2 to about 60% Hispanic, and then I believe District 9 is at about 56%. So.
I stand corrected. The United Hispanic Council drew 3 districts.
Come back to the mic, please. Sorry. You're right. You want to put those percentages on the record for us. That's important.
Yeah. I'm not a member of the United Hispanic Council, but I do know that they submitted 3 plans, all of which have Hispanic percentages in District 2 at 66 or 68%.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from the audience? Oh, yes, sir.
I just want to say that District 8 has some of the best parks, and I know that we've had Sycamore Park and Cobb Park as a part of District 8 for a very long time. But it's taken so many years to get those back up to par, and we've finally gotten that done. But along the way, many of us have fallen in love with Gateway Park, and I know personally I've worked with the Trinity Plan and making sure that's what we all want. So I'm really disappointed that 9 has come over and grabbed one of our very valuable assets, which arguably, I mean, it should be either in Scarth's district or in District 8. So I just want to make that one point.
Right, thank you. Fort Worth. All right. Any other, oh, yes, sir, please come forward.
Dana, I just want to thank you and the staff for helping us with our plans. Very valuable assistance, and compliment you on the result. I think the result is excellent. From District 4 standpoint, which you're in District 4, we retained some of the parts in District 4 we really wanted to keep together, communities of interest. So just want to thank you, and I think you did an excellent job.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Rusty Fuller with the North Fort Worth Alliance, and we appreciate the opportunity to comment on the redistricting proposals submitted by individuals, the community groups, and staff's draft plan. Our first guiding principle that we think is important, after, of course, those of the requirements of the Voting Rights Act, is that the individual council districts should be, as much as possible, include populations both inside and outside the 820 loop. We believe that this design principle will facilitate the resolution of conflicts between such populations before reaching the council. Absent these design principles, we believe it will be more difficult to achieve harmony between and among districts, thereby leading to contentious and unproductive debates at the council. Our second principle is that we are looking to the future growth of Fort Worth. The districts that are most likely to experience growth should fall at or below the population target of 92,846 when the redistricting is done. Based on those two principles, we ask that Council reject version 12B submitted by the United Hispanic Council. In that proposal, the District 4 is entirely above the loop. District 2 population is at 2% above the target, while the proposed district has areas where the proposed district has areas where significant growth can occur. This would leave the population of District 2 underrepresented until its next redistricting effort, should that growth materialize. We believe that the three-district proposal that we've submitted meets all the criteria and our guiding principles. Our plan increased the percentage of Hispanic in each of Districts 2, 8, and 9, and thereby increasing that population's potential influence on the elections. Our resulting percentage of non-Hispanic black are higher in most cases than the staff's draft proposal. And under our proposal, District 7 is continuous. Under the staff, it is not. The North Fort Worth Alliance proposal is superior to that of other proposals because we have kept the two council members most experienced with the trials and tribulations of rapid growth as the council members of those two northern districts that it can expect to continue experienced rapid growth. Finally, our proposal allows for growth of Districts 2 and 7 so that during the next 10 years, those constituents will not be underrepresented as they were during the growth spurts of the 2000. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if so, please come forward to the microphone.
I'm Anita Cox. I live in Greenfield Acres.
Yep.
Did y'all take school districts into account at all? You didn't mention that when you were drawing these?
No, school districts do their own redistricting, but no, we did not look at the school districts.
Well, my reason being is it seems to me like it would make our lives easier if our councilmen were in Eagle Mountain, Saginaw School District. Mm-hmm. If our councilmen also represent, so that when you work with the school district, when you have common
so there's
goals,
commonalities, right?
that they'd only have to be working with one council person rather than two
Yes.
or three or more.
Yes. We've got
So-
about 16 school districts in Fort Worth, whereas we have 8 council districts. So there's going to be some combination, but you're right, we should look at the school district boundaries as well. That's a great idea.
Well, would be one of my major concerns. I think our lives would be simpler if our councilman could work with our school
With your
district, and
schools.
our school district only has to work with one
Right.
council person.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you come to the microphone, or we can bring it to you.
Just Doyle Willis, out of 2300 Primrose in the Riverside section of the city. Obvious question, you probably answered this one before. What was the rationale for the city council's determination to require that the proposed districts be on both sides of the loop?
Well, it's not a requirement, but it's with regard to being a criterion. The way we evaluated the plans was whether or not they kept at least 6 out of the 8. But the discussion that the council had was they wanted the council members to be able to balance the interests of both Central City residents with the new growth areas, and that they enjoyed having the diversity, and also, if to the extent that they want to represent the residents as a whole, or what's good for the city as a whole, that was important. But certainly that doesn't mean every council district needs to achieve that. Again, we have 6 of the 8 that do so today. But that would, that criteria needs to be balanced with all the others.